Hey friends, this is that autism Q&A video that I promised I'd do and probably not got around to doing. So, hey, if you're new, welcome to the video, and I'm only doing 6 questions because we'll be here all night. So, autism questions, and I'm going to kick off with thing number one. Joe Macros asks, what do you think about autism and alcohol? Do you think autistics should be drinking alcohol on their diagnosis? Now, this isn't a troll question because this isn't a question that we cover in our community properly. I think as long as people understand drink, I'm not saying if people could sort of the stopgap and all the rest of it, like I've said to a lot of people, you drink and drink and drink and then get absolutely hammered to the point where, the next day sort of, you wish you'd never drank before and all the rest of it. I'm talking more on the points of, when you understand what alcohol does to you. That's the thing you've got to understand. I mean, when I get drunk, it's kind of interesting for me, personally. The last time I tried to think, okay, how sober can I be? That's not good because you sort of have like a seizure, but not. It's very strange. I'm not going to describe that, but your brain is, don't forget, when you're drunk, part of your brain is numbed. You can't hold on to those. It's like, in fact, actually, when you sit in the bath, when you sit in the bath and you feel, if you put your arm out, you stretch your arm out in the bath, and all those little cells fall off into the bath, right? Well, that's what happens when you drink. When you drink and you get absolutely paralytic or near to paralytic, what happens is those cells in your brain basically fall off. And it's weird because you kind of know that they're falling off. Also, those amazing ideas you had get clouded over, and it's very like when you smoke marijuana or you experiment with marijuana. It's the same sort of thing. Now, I can only speak for that because, things I've done in my lifetime. Not proud of it, to be honest. They're the only 2 things I've done. I'm not doing anything else, but I just think, getting back to alcohol, you have to understand what it does in order to say, you can't drink on your diagnosis. Maybe a lot of doctors there should be advice out there, but there isn't. There isn't the advice that I'm looking for. Even for parents, guardians, caregivers, you don't get educated properly with alcohol. When you go to a lot of these men's groups, whatever, it's it used to go and used to really, really get educated, and it was really interesting listening to, the strength of drink and what the strength does to that as a person. Some people get violent, whatever. They used to be really good discussions, but now you don't get taught that properly. What is it? Do they not want people to drink? It's the same with the other thing, which we'll come to. But anyway, I think I should have scripted this video, but I know the questions, so I can answer them. So, yeah, but I think alcohol and autism, you know, understand what drink does. It's a bit like when you get into a car, understand how powerful it is before you really open it up. You know, be sensible is my is my advice on that. Even though it's not the best advice I'd take for myself, but I think for others, for viewers watching this, from one autistic to another, from one blind, overcooked burger to another. There's a bit of a joke there for you, but I think you kind of know where I'm going with that. To another, just be sensible. That's kind of the best advice, isn't it, really? Bit of common sense goes a long way. Question number 2. Are there any autistic slurs that offend you? This is a big one because with slurs, the R word doesn't offend me because it's been used that much by loads of teenagers worldwide. They just don't offend me. Use the other one. And even though I have used that as a punk word for a long, long time, the R word, I've been using it as a punk word. Not as a swear word, as a punk word. There's difference between a punk word and a swear word. I've been using it to retaliate, to rebel. A bit like TG was using industrial, what was it? Industrial music for industrial people. And I felt that's kind of how can I put it? Not a slur, but like, what? There's no such thing as industrial people. But you kind of, that was back then. I mean, obviously, industrial music is really, really cool. Industrial people, not really cool. I mean, Tony Wilson, was he industrial? Is that why he got factory records? Anyway, there's certain slurs that just don't really attack me in certain ways. It's how it's not the slurs, it's not what offends, it's why. If you know what I mean. It's like when people stare. I tell you what though, I'd give it them back. If you shout, do you want a picture or I've been with friends. This is what upsets friends. It doesn't upset me. But when people are staring and they go, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "What's your problem?" I said, they can take a photo of me all day long. I said, look, if they want a picture or whatever, that's fine. And there probably is people that using cameras to take pictures and, that's fine. Especially if you're in a public street, on a public path, I know people might have a problem with it, but I might say, well, hold on a second. If someone says, hey, someone's taking a picture, it's like, yeah, and? We're on a public street, on a public path, on a public right of way. They can take a picture of what they want. But anyway, let's not get into that argument. But you can see what I mean. I think a lot of the slurs The reason why they don't bother me is because they've been used in the music scene or the art scene or, certain films. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think the media is one massive slur altogether. There you go. Um, I mean, we are going to be discussing that. So there you have it. That's a question that, I mean, to be honest with you, it's like, I understand that there's certain words that upset certain people. I mean, when I used to turn around and say, well, that doesn't upset me. And they used to say, why? Why? Mental and whatever. Why does that not upset you? I'm like, well, people are going to find words and use words to, offend, whatever, or whatever. Those people, you know, they're not reading the streets, or they're not reading, whatever. I mean, um, and a lot of the music scene, like Johnny Rotten. Johnny Rotten made a fantastic statement, and he changes it, but it's always the same statement. He says he laughs at people call him the Hitler of youth, whatever, but he says he can see why, because it was something that people didn't like. They couldn't get it, and they didn't like it, and it was new. And now, I mean, punk music, and especially the Sex Pistols, especially people like Johnny Rotten, the whole Hitler of youth thing is a massive joke now, because Johnny Rotten is doing a lot for dementia, and people love the Pistols. The people that hated the Pistols back in the 70s absolutely love them now. I think it's because they were one of the punk bands to actually write songs, and people felt sorry for Sid. There was the whole Sid Vicious thing. That's when people sort of really felt sorry for the Pistols. Fine. Oh, they said the F word on television, whatever. But I think the Pistols didn't have a real message back then. I think now they've got this real message, like Johnny Rotten, John Lydon has got this real message that he goes, and it's like he's now this whole big massive image, but it's like you've come from somewhere to go to somewhere else. That's the thing. But John Lydon always says, it's like people are looking for something every day. I mean, anyway, and when I saw Johnny Rotten cry, John Lydon cry, when I saw that tear rolling out of his, I mean, you see the two versions of John Lydon. You see him on stage back in the 70s with the Pistols, looking like this possessed form of character, to John Lydon stood in front of a load of reporters um, with a tear in his eye for to Prodigy's Keith Flint, who he was carrying the torch for John Lydon, but it was it was one of those things to see John Lydon cry put a lump in my throat. It just put a tear in my eye listening to John Lydon cry. It was I've heard him cry a few times, but on that occasion, it was whoa, that's heavy stuff in those few moments. But anyway, and another thing as well is they're now, I think, I don't know if this is a slur or not, but they're trying to use, and they've been doing it for years, but they're still trying to use, they're trying to get the heavy metal community and the autistic community against each other, and it's been going on for years. I just wish they'd stop doing that, but they're trying to do it. There's people that are trying to do it all the time, and yeah, and it's nothing to do with the PGSA or whatever. It's nothing to do with that. The Satanic Panic crowd. They do my nutting, because anyway, I'll talk about them in another video, because some of them actually are still into Satanism. Some of them, and there's a lot of panic. There's the PMSRC. There we go. But I'll talk about that in another video. So we'll let them off in this video, but don't worry, we've got a video for you. The whole demetaling thing, the whole, it's all music that's under attack, not just heavy metal, but they came for metal first. Because metal isn't as subtle. Metal doesn't sugarcoat stuff. Anyway, that's all I'll say for that for now. Question 3: do you have any sensory issues? Well, yeah, but as you probably didn't know, light has never bothered me. Even since my first keratoconus attack, where light was just stabbing my eye. My last keratoconus attack was bad, and I'm definitely sure it was a keratoconus attack, but I'm not fully sure. But sure enough to know that light really bothers me, and I've become more light sensitive to certain light. So, and to be honest, I'm different. The light sensitive for me is if it's a hot light and it's been on for hours on end, you can tell. If you go into a restaurant, some restaurants, not all, but some, they'll have their lights on for ages. Big, bright spotlights on for hours on end. You sit underneath one of them, you'll feel the heat from it. Well, for me, that heat from that light is strong. And it's like someone's pelting you in the head. And don't forget, I have messed around with lights in the past, and I didn't listen to people when they say, Stephen, be careful with lasers and stuff like that. That's got nothing to do with it. I still love my laser, but I make sure that I've got a good few meters away from it. so I can still enjoy it and have it on. It's one of those things, you know. It's like when you go and ride a bike, you wear a helmet and all the rest of it. But yeah, I liked a biggie. I mean, we were sat in the Premier Inn the other week, and they've got those fake blinds. You can tell they're fake because they've got them down, but they're just for show. You know, because they're like yellow blinds where the light's reflecting. Well, I had to move, and my stepdad's going, well, the blinds are down. Yeah, but they're not real blinds. You know, come on, you know. Um, and and light was reflecting off from everywhere and anywhere, and I could feel it, and I'm like, oh, you know. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the Premier Inn, because the lighting in there is terrible. And when they dim the lights, it's like, Um, I mean, it's all right after a while, but I don't know. I can tolerate it, but not. Um, but another thing is you know, I think I am becoming more light sensitive to certain lighting now than I did before. Um, there's just a lot of things I think my communication's terrible. It really is. Um, but oh yeah, another thing, sensory. I don't like certain things in my mouth. You know, toothbrushes. Um, I absolutely love my electric one now. Yeah, and when I'm anxious and my mouth goes dry, I hate that. Absolutely hate that. But anyway, um, what's another thing I hate? I hate cold, harsh temperatures. However, in saying that, um, there is a cold shower at the baths. It's by the sauna, and me and Thomas will take turns of dunking each other in it. It's a new, a new little pastime. Oh dear. But yeah, and what's the other thing I don't like? I don't like that new mat they've got in the Mount Pleasant because it's dead slippy to stand on, even in your shoes. Um, there you go. It's weird. It feels like it's stood on something slushy and mushy and slidey. Really weird. Um, but yeah, so it was a good job they told me it was a new mat. But anyway, they're the things that I kind of, you know, I mean, I'm okay to sound. There isn't any noises that worry me too much. Um, there are noises I do hate, but off the top of my head, I can't really think. I hate all that slurpy stuff, you know, that ASMR. Oh gosh, how people listen to that, I don't know. Um, they've probably got their own sort of, but um, I've got a few friends where we take the rip out of ASMR. I do it on WhatsApp, you know. Um, I'll put the mic up to something and you know, all that stuff, and it's like, oh gosh. How are these ASMR people? I'm not talking about a bog standard ASMR, um, but what ones that actually sit in studios and spend like take after take after take. How do they do it? They must have guts of steel. It's anyway. Um, Speaking of ASMR, though, there are some ASMR stuff that I do like. But anyway, um, and yeah. I mean, fruit machines, I think they're like a little bit of a ASMR in a very strange way. Especially if you've played a fruit machine. If you haven't, it's probably nothing to no one. But for me, it was a real nostalgic time, and we didn't have mobile phones and all the rest of it. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Question number 3. How do you communicate? You know, do you have... I am a verbal person, fully verbal person, but there are times, and it's great when you've got people who understand. There are times where I don't like to say mutism, but you know, going mute. But yeah, there are times when I go mute, but I just have those silent moments when you can't explain it, you know. But there are people who, who've, like, goodness grief, I've only known, well, some people have known for like 6 months or whatever, or some people have known me less than that, or some people know me more than that, and will be able to tell if there's a problem or not. I mean, sometimes, yeah, they've got to work it out, but sometimes they'll know. Which is like, oh my goodness grief. You know, and that is important. because I struggle like hell with certain things to tell people. Sometimes I find it embarrassing, to be fair. Um, I don't want to say to somebody, by the way, I'm this or that or the other. But I've got people who are on it, like, goodness knows how they're on it, but they're on it. You know, and that's why I'll enjoy being with those people, because they'll know or not know. May the case we have how the case may be. Um, also, um, I'm terrible for messaging, and I've had to apologise to so many people. Look, I'm really sorry I've not messaged you for a month, 2 months. I don't know. I can make a video every month or every day or every week, but making that message, um, that seems to be very lengthy. You know, and I get very fatigued in messaging people all the time. You know, there's only very few times if I'm bored or drunk, or it's like it depends what mood I'm in. Um, and most of the time, it's I don't know. I'm kind of weird in that way. In that sort of frame of mind, but it's like I do actually know a friend, and she will message me every 2 3 months, and she's had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, because I told her ages ago, but she's had to learn the really hard way that she won't hear from me for like a good few months, and then when I want to message her, I'll message her. She's brilliant because she will rollick me. If she'll get worried, and then she'll rollick me. Stephen, you should have messaged me. I'm like, I know, but just Then I've got another friend who, I've stood back from a little bit, but then I will message her to check she's all right, whatever. And, it's more or less the same messages all the time, but any road. We got 2 more questions, haven't we? Yeah, question 5. Um, question 4. We've not done question 4, have we? Oh yeah, we have done question 4. Question 5 is it's depression or whatever. It's a very difficult one, because I've never been down that dark road. The difficult things for me are very sort of, I don't want to look back at the moments when I found it difficult. But the difficult moments you can use as a tool as long as you are using the right moments, if you know what I mean. If you can go back and ask yourself why. Why were you like that? Was it, those moments? There's always those reasons as to why. You know. I guess if something upsets me, I can't deal with it, or something makes me angry, I just can't deal with it. And I think because it's so amplified, and people have had to. There's some good people who will understand it, or there's some people who won't understand it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like an incident happened last. Let's see. Yeah, an incident happened last night. Oh, it would have been the other night because and I just said, look, the shouting's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about things, don't really want to be glassed, to be honest. And people that understand that throwing a glass is a big deal in a public place. And yeah. It's a big deal. And the worst thing was, the people that sat on my table weren't, I think because they were moving, they wouldn't have, I just thought, because the best thing to do is trying to move away from the situation. But anyway, that's a bit of education for you. But I think if you're not fine or whatever, how do you tell people in those situations? If you're angry or sad or whatever. Yeah, question number 6. I'm going to do a couple more because I did want to there's a couple I've not really touched on. And one comes from a great friend, Becky, and she asks, all your political stuff hasn't come to the channel. When's it coming? And what's your political stuff around autism? Well, that's a big one. We're doing videos mainly to do with, autism in the media. It's a big one, isn't it? But I'm doing it very differently because I want to talk about the metal scene. If you don't know, I know what's been happening in the heavy metal scene the past few years, and where it's gone round, and obviously where it's stemming from now. Um, the thing with metal is people not giving two hoots. Lemmy, did he not teach us nothing? And also how in the media, how things are just terrible, how it's getting worse. Things are getting worse in the media. Things are getting much more worse. You get these accusations flying around, and why? And then you get people going to doctors for mental health problems are now being sold. There are people that there has been mental health scares over the past few years which aren't necessarily mental health scares. And you don't really want to check yourself into somewhere, even if you have got a problem, because they don't want to talk. They want to put you on drugs. There's a cracking podcast, Patient 11 it's called, Sky News podcast, and it's shocking. You think after the other cases that have happened, you think they would have, other cases that have happened, you would think that things have changed. Well, no, things aren't moving forward, and the mental health system's becoming a prison. In fact, the hospital system is becoming a prison, as they want people to live in a prison. Anyway, that's just, and the stronger you are, the better you are, a much more, not only will you live a healthier life, but you'll live a successful life. Because, oh yeah, and I also want to do a care in the community video. The community doesn't care. You have to build. It's up to the people around you and the people who love you and nurture you. It's up to them to build a community, and I can't see even my parents or my family wanting to build a community that cares for me personally. One of my dreams, which I can never ever see happening because it would take a lot, but I'd love to have a commune where people live in that commune, and if they want to see each other every day, that's what they do. If not, then fine, they've got their own bit to live in, and everyone's supervised that lives in there by staff members, caregivers, or not caregivers, but they'd have a different name, I mean, what happened to Bottom? The Camp Hill Trust, no one's learnt from that, and that's what annoys me. Supervised care isn't how it should be done in my eyes. And I've argued this with my parents, because supervised care should be the way I want to set it up. is a shared living space, but not. It's difficult. You know, you have your space, they have their space, whatever. But it should be something that you own. But the commune idea, to carry on with the commune, there'd be stuff to do, there'd be activities to do every day. There'd be days out, there'd be all kinds. And yet, people would also benefit from being in the commune. I wanted to give it the name The Exploding Galaxy, but I don't think that would work somehow. That was a project, a weird project which happened in the 60s. If you don't know anything about The Exploding Galaxy, go and read up about it. It's and literally everybody that lived in there, they couldn't live the same thing every day. They had to do different things. They had to you couldn't go to the toilet the same way, or you couldn't, you know, they just dropped on the walls and they would say stop, and everything was different. And you know, they'd say, oh, you know, you ate with a knife and fork yesterday. Could you, you know, eat with your hands or whatever? They'd have some strange things, and anyway, it was called The Game, and everybody had to change. You didn't sleep in the same place every night. You slept in different places. You did different things. Everything had to be rewritten. Anyway, it's a big piece of history. But I think as a big joke, I'd call it The Exploding Galaxy. Just because that's how I think people should live. I'd love to have an art collective called The Exploding Galaxy. I don't know, but that's me. That's me. My hippie side, my psychedelic side, coming out there. I think because we don't really like people. I don't know what it is. The care in the community. What annoys me about that personally is that people just don't want to care for people in the community. They don't want to build a community around them. And Camp Hill Trust, you look at it now and you're just thinking, okay, was that a joke? Was that real? Was it? I mean, it was an experiment, but it was done to the point where you could say, was it real? You know. And now there's so much you know, there's too much health and safety in my eyes. You know, you've got to have a little bit of danger. Just a little bit. I mean, kids don't go outside and play properly because some parents are scared instantly that something bad will happen. But I've, you know, travelled around. I mean, I used to commute from Southport to Maghull every week. And the things that's happened, you know, not just bus drivers dropping me off in the wrong place, but I've had drunk people talk to me on the bus. I've had, uh, things that have happened to the point where I've just gone, yeah, well, that was an experience. But I've not let it put me off. I've used that to strengthen and say, do you know what, doesn't matter. There's too many, like, shoulda, woulda, couldas to stop you from learning somewhere new or learning a new skill. And that goes for
Go on, go on.